3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Ahoy, friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Dennis and Andy show. This is another quick hit. A quick hit is where we're going to drop reviews on things and making these little bite-sized 15-minute chunks that you can easily digest. Unlike when Dennis cooks, that is not easily digestible, and it hurts like hell coming out the back end.
And the next day, woo!
That's what I said.
Don't go in there.
It's bad. Don't let that man cook.
What we're going to do is we finished both episodes 1 and 2 of Moon Knight. So we're going to review it, but I think in order to do it justice, we almost have to break it up into 2. Do the first one, the pilot first, and then the second one.
On the stream.
On the stream, yes.
Oh, so you're not.
So we just can't roll everything together.
Instead, we're just not going to do 2 and then 1. No shit, Dennis. You go 1, 2. Where did you grow up?
You jump. You jump
Korea?
like a Mexican jumping
Where the hell
bean.
are you from? China, where you read backwards 2, 1.
I'm just saying that's typically how you jump to the end and then back to the beginning and then in the middle.
I do not.
But we do.
So at the end of episode 2, just kidding.
Exactly. So Moon Knight, we've been kind of excited. You know, it was going to be hard to tell with the previews. Boy, is this going to be another Marvel one? Is this going to be really a Marvel one? It was going to be. What were we going to get? So it starts off with Stephen Grant,
Oscar Isaac.
Yep.
Who
And
I got to admit, I was a little skeptical of with the casting.
I was too.
Just because I only knew him from Star Wars and maybe not. I'm trying to think if you could rate him. I mean, there's so many characters that have been cast in shows now. No, I guess you can't. I was going to say.
See, you already jumped.
You would almost think. No, I'm not. I'm talking about the show, the casting. And I'm trying to think if there's somebody they could have cast that was a bigger name. But then again, you look at stuff like Daredevil. I never heard of Charlie Cox before Daredevil.
Right.
Luke Cage. So you know what? I think
look
he
at
actually.
Star Wars or Star Trek. Nobody knew of any of those. Nobody knew of the Star Wars original cast.
Anyhow, so episode 1, we meet Stephen Grant in London.
So the interesting thing is, were we going to get a Stephen Grant-based show? Were we going to get a Mark Spector-based show? And we didn't know which version, what they were going to pull, if they were going to take all the different versions, mix them together. We didn't know. So we find out we meet Oscar Isaac as Stephen Grant.
And I read Moon Knight back in the day. I've got the Essential Collection there. So when I say I've read Moon Knight, I've read classic 1980s Moon Knight. I only read a few issues of the Mark Spector Moon Knight from the 90s. I got the Stephen Platt issues, and I got issue 1. And what was the other one I picked up? Number 1, Fist of Khonshu.
The Fist of Khonshu, yeah.
And I got that.
Some of the good classic stuff.
Other than that, it's been a long time since I've read it. I don't think Stephen Grant's character was this almost nebbish, worrywart type of guy who's a vegetarian.
He was just the opposite.
Stephen Grant was?
He was successful rich man. He was like Bruce Wayne.
Stephen Grant was the rich one.
Yes. They did a complete 180 on this.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then Mark Spector was always kind of the merc, right?
Yeah, he was the merc.
And then the third guy is the taxi driver.
Which is Lockley. Jake Lockley.
And he's the taxi driver.
He's the taxi driver from the comics.
Right.
So
so they're definitely playing around.
Right. We did start with, the Stephen Grant character. So he's completely different from what we knew. Now, I watched it with my wife. I've read them all. I've even read the Jeff Lemire current runs and stuff. My wife had never seen anything from Moon Knight, knew nothing about it. So I will say the great thing that they did with this is, unlike the other Marvel properties, they just kind of assumed, oh, WandaVision, everybody hears the story, we don't care. This one, they treated it like an actual pilot. We're going to do a lot of exposition and setup, and we're going to introduce you, because nobody has really heard of this unless you're a true comic book diehard fan. And I think it worked because they did a lot of exposition, maybe a little too much for some of us deep nerds, but for people not familiar, my wife was at least able to piece together what was going on, and in a very positive way.
Right. My daughter watched it with me. My wife, you would have to literally tie her down to watch this stuff.
Literally.
But not my daughter. She loves this stuff. She loved it. She thoroughly enjoyed it.
Just like they do with Steven. You have to tie her down and make her watch it.
So Stephen Grant, he's a nebbish type of dude. He works at a gift shop at a museum. He's obviously into hieroglyphics and stuff like that. There's books all over his flat that he lives in. But he does realize that he has these episodes because when he goes to sleep at night, he ties himself down just to his one ankle so he can't escape, which is stupid because and they haven't shown this yet, but when he becomes Mark Spector, he'll just wake up and he'll be like, oh yeah, silly boy, and just undo it. So
but he pours sand in front of his bed so you can see their footprints. He tapes the door up.
Yeah.
So, he's got it, and yet he still wakes up and bad stuff is happening.
Well, right, because once again, Mark Spector would be like, okay, I'll come home, replace the tape, crawl into bed, smooth out the sand, put the strap back on, nobody knows.
But they do a good job of introducing this, and then when he wakes up once, he's got a dislocated jaw. He's in the middle of nowhere.
That was messed up looking too, I guess.
Right, and that actually looked really cool. So you start understanding very quickly, he's either having blackouts or, and even my wife's like, does he have multiple personalities? I'm like, I don't know. She saw Split, so that kind of stuck with it in her mind.
Yeah. We get introduced in the first episode to Ethan Hawke's character, who is obviously the villain, the big bad villain of the show. I don't know. We're not going to give away spoilers, but you do get a nice ending of the first episode payoff before we get to that.
You figure out who he is. You he's you think he might be a bad guy or not. It depends on whose story you kind of believe in it.
Right.
But Ethan Hawke, he's looking for something, and his job, and you start understanding he's got abilities. They all have the tattoos, and you'll see the tattoos.
It's a tattoo of the scales
of justice.
Scales of justice, yeah.
And
but I think only Ethan's moves. The other people have the tattoo, but
right, yeah. He's got abilities, and you find out the abilities because he judges people either for if you're worthy or not, and if you're not worthy, and you're not sure why yet. Even when she's holding some person's hand, and he basically sucks the life out of them, and you're
dead.
Wow. But Ethan's looking for the scarab, and all of a sudden, magically, Oscar has no idea. Oscar Isaac, which is Steven, has no idea how he's got it. So there's a really cool scene where he wakes up realizing they start shooting at him. It's a very funny scene. He has no idea what's going on. They're chasing him through it. It's just a well-done scene, and it sets up. Oscar Isaac, I wasn't sure how he was going to play because he's playing a British accent. And actually, I think he pulls it off. I
thought he pulled off the accent. I thought he was great.
I did too.
I thought he was really good.
You eventually meet Mark Spector.
Right.
And you see him in the mirror and you hear voices, and it's cool because you're piecing it together. Oh, no. Then let me have your body. And then you're like, wow. So he's able to take these different personalities and interchange out. Oscar Isaac is doing a wonderful job with it.
Well, that's why I hope they do introduce the other guy, Jake, personality, to see how he plays that one.
I think they will, and we'll talk a little bit more into the second episode, because there's symbolism all throughout this. Everything's in threes. Like if there's a mirror, there's two mirrors over here, so there's three when he's looking at it. Even on the screen where you see the ring, you'll see this ring split, and you see pieces going off into threes. to me, that kind of signifies it's the three personalities. So I think we're going to get them all. So, but that's just me kind of reading into it. But it is. And then there's a couple of times in the second episode when we get into it where you hear somebody talk. Oh, you were assuming it's Mark. It might not be Mark. That could be Jake, because neither one of them, he asks out a girl as for a date, has no memory of asking this girl out.
No, he remembers asking her out, I thought.
No, he doesn't. He's freaked out by
you're
it.
right. You're
and
right. And
Mark is keeping everybody at arm's length away, doesn't want it. So I am thinking it was Jake that asked this girl out. He lost track of time. He thought he was there on time, showed up for his date, wasn't there. And then he calls her up. I'm here waiting for you. Oh, yeah, very funny. I was there 2 days ago when I was supposed to. I bet it was Jake, but we don't know because they keep us guessing. So it does end with some of the parts that you saw in the trailer with
the fight
the
between
big Moon Knight. And when he turns around and his eyes glowing and it's the fist of Khonshu Moon Knight, you're like, oh, yeah, there it is.
It's a love-hate because you're like, oh, the last few minutes of the episode, you're showing me Moon Knight. Great cliffhanger to leave you wanting more. It's a love-hate because I would have been like, I could have seen that for 20 whole minutes. But I get why they did it. It was a nice setup. I thought it was a good introductory episode. Are we ranked it?
Yeah, I definitely think we should because they're different. So what would you give your CGC of episode 1?
I give it 8.
An 8. That's right where I am. I thought it was a solid episode. It was good. A little too much exposition for me. My wife needed it. So again, they are going towards people that haven't seen it. And I thought it's a great move. So it was a great setup. I'm also doing an 8.0.
Yeah. So there you go.
So
on to episode 2.
2. Episode 2 picks up because remember, he wound up, there was a phone he finds and the name Layla, somebody's been trying to call him. And he winds up calling and she's like, Mark, what are you doing? He goes, why are you calling me Mark? And she winds up showing up only to find out he's married.
It's Mark Spector's wife. What? And she shows up with divorce papers.
And he's like, we're married?
Right. And she doesn't believe the accent because this whole time he's Stephen Grant. So he's got his British accent. She's like, would you cut the accent? I don't know what you're doing. She's looking around his flat, like, what the heck is going on here? I like the actress they cast. What's her name?
May Calloway.
She's very familiar looking.
I don't know her from anything, but I thought she's got personality. She fits right in. She
knows about Moon Knight.
She knows not only about Moon Knight, she put on the suit.
Yeah.
Put on the suit. So she was dealing with Mark. We find out Mark was trying to protect her, which is why he's the one who issued the divorce papers, because if she finds out about the Scarab, they already know that Arthur Harrow will kill her and take her out. And that's great. And then we delve into and we get to find out about Khonshu. So he actually makes an appearance, and it's a really well done.
It's so well done.
F. Murray Abraham plays the voice.
Why would you want to say F. Murray? What Murray ever do to you? Man.
I say F. Murray this, F. Murray that.
Damn.
But we love him, and he's
a good actor.
He's a perfect voice, and he just has this, I'm going to scare the crap out of you, a voice in there. And for Steven, it does. He's completely petrified.
So, I mean, the whole basic plot of the second episode is Ethan Hawke's character wanting to get the Scarab back. And then, you throw in the mix of Mark Spector's wife, who tracks him down through the cell phone signal, and Steven having to deal with this. Once again, there's a funny scene, and I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but at first I was like, oh, I hate that. But then they redeem themselves. So we won't say what leads up to it, but there's a scene where Mark is, every time he looks into a mirror, Stephen Grant, Spector's there like, look, let me take over. I can get us out of this. Let me take over. And Stephen Grant's fighting it. He ends up where he has to put on the suit, and it's that dumb white three-piece suit from the comics they just started with the mask.
I hate
that.
It's the Mr. Knight suit.
It's the Mr. Knight suit, which I think is just the dumbest looking thing. I'm like, ugh.
But
way
now,
to
funny,
never get me to buy Moon Knight.
A couple of people I talked to, that's their favorite version.
Oh, I hate that suit. There's nothing superhero about it.
I already knew that's what your take was going to be.
I want a superhero book, not a dude running around in a white.
But she's like, put on the suit, put on the suit. And all of a sudden he goes, suit. And as he's falling out the building.
See, I wasn't going to
spoil no, but you're going to. That's when the suit appears. But it winds up being that suit.
So it's that suit. And I'm like, I hate that suit. And what happens? He looks in a window. It's dark, so he can see the reflection. And the reflection is obviously him in the suit, but it's Mark Spector's point of view. And Mark Spector's like, what is this? What are you wearing? And Stephen Grant's like, she said, put on a suit. So I thought that was great. They put it in. I hope to God throughout the final 4 episodes, we never see that stupid suit again.
Well, and I'll be curious now if Stephen needs to use a suit. I bet that becomes his suit, and I bet Mark's winds up being the Khonshu suit. So I will be very curious as to see how they do it and how they're going to portray it. But I thought it was kind of interesting. We find out about Amit. That's the whole point. So Ethan Hawke, he's actually we now know that Mark Spector is the avatar for Khonshu, and that. Ethan Hawke is the avatar for Amit. And Amit, they're both into this vengeance thing if you look into the Egyptian. Well, no, still is, because Amit is a different god. But Amit doesn't believe in vengeance after. Amit believes in prejudging you and removing basically the bad people up front. It's like precog. If you think about like the Tom Cruise movie with the precognition, and where they're going to judge you guilty up front, and I'm going to kill you here so you never do the bad thing. Whereas Khonshu's all about you've committed an act, I must seek out my vengeance on you. So that is really cool because we've got 2 avatars from 2 different Egyptian gods, and one knows there's power, and one has no clue. He's trying to figure it out right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, without giving away, because we think it's good, so we want you to watch it, so we don't want to spoil anything. I like the second episode. I think it's progressing pretty well.
It answers questions.
It peels back the onion.
Right. The first episode was pretty much, exposition. This one really goes into and starts answering some of those questions. Asks a few more, but it's building and building. It was very well done. Yes. And at the end of it, it leads us going, oh, crap. Can't wait for 3rd episode.
Yeah.
It does its job.
Great cliffhanger to lead into next week. I'm going to give this one, I think it was just as good. I'll stick with the 8-0.
See, and I thought this built on it and did a lot more. And I love the special effects. I loved all the acting in this one. I love the answers. I love the 2 avatars and what is they're doing with the avatars. You do find when Amit uses the magic, it's purple.
Right.
Which means it's from the dark dimension because that is how Marvel has set it up through like Doctor Strange or
Scarlet
Agatha.
Witch. Yeah, Agatha.
Yeah. So that is really cool. So they're tying that together beautifully. I'm giving this one a 9.2 for the second episode.
Holy shnikes,
I loved it.
A 9.2 and an 8. That's when you add those together, that's a whole 17.2.
That's an 8.6.
Damn.
Average, right?
8.6 average compared to my 8.0 average. They're still very good ratings or grades that we gave them. I would say so far out of the shows that have come out, I'm still a Winter Soldier Falcon guy. Or not Falcon, but that was it. Falcon Winter Soldier. Yeah, I'm still a Falcon Winter Soldier guy because I'm more Captain America. And we have to just wait for the end of the season for me to say
this
what
has
I like.
Potential.
But I like it better than Scarlet Witch. I like it better than Hawkeye so far. Definitely like it better than Loki so far. So check it out. let us know what you think. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell.
And down below, you'll find out that we now have a Rumble channel that we're starting up and an Odyssey channel. So as we're expanding, make sure you follow us on there. We always want to hear from you if you agree or disagree with us, things we might have missed or didn't really want to give away too many spoilers. And you can always join us on our live stream and talk to us about really cool stuff.
And those are Wednesday at 5 p.m. Go check out my campaign. It's in demand. First Man, Learning Curve. Luke Henry, now that he's back on Earth, has to take on the Fourth World Foundation as First Man and stop a major threat to the planet. Check it out. It's on Indiegogo. All the artwork is done. It should be going to the printer in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Woohoo!
Exactly. So go check that out. Link is in the description below. Thank you again for joining us. And we'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye, everybody.